Hello and welcome to an Amulet Titan replay video. This match is against Amulet Titan. So in the mirror, obviously didn't know that when I started out here, but here is my opening hand. And if you look at this hand, on the play, I think it's got a lot of potential. If I draw into a Titan, it's a turn 3 Titan. If I draw into any blue source, it can be a turn 4 Titan. If I draw an Amulet and a blue source, it's just, this hand's just got so much potential. Even if my scout dies, I have another scout backup. Castle Garenbrig is so good with Secure a Tribe Scout. Just allows so many play patterns where even without an Amulet, it basically makes your reliance on Amulet so much less. So I keep this hand. I want to start off with a forest into a scout. My opponent, Once Upon a Times. Let's see what they get here for a Vesuva. And immediately I know I'm up against the mirror here. Unfortunately, I draw another scout, which is not what this hand is looking for at all. So I just unload my hand here and pass turn. My opponent plays Field of the Dead. I flash in a Tularia West. I draw a Trinket Mage, which is actually really good in the mirror. Now, what I could do is I could just grab an Engineered Explosives, but that'd be really silly because I have all the one cost permanents. So I'm just gonna grab a Amulet here, which is so important in the mirror, which is why Trinket Mage I think is very useful if you're expecting a lot of mirror matches. This Amulet is kind of the mirror breaker here. So I'm not going to expose this Amulet to my opponent's potential Engineered Explosives because that would just absolutely crush me. So I draw the Simic Growth Chamber, that blue source I needed, and now I have absolutely plenty of blue mana thanks to this Simic Growth Chamber. So because I have the extra bounce land in hand, I don't mind bouncing back right there instead of floating the mana first. And now I just use my time, my Secure Tribe Scouts, my Bounce Land, and my Amulet of Vigor to float a ton of mana. And my opponent casts Pact of Negation and concedes because they have no blue. I think the Pact was just like they were conceding to my Titan. I'm pretty sure, not that it was just going to be lethal or anything at this particular moment, but they were conceding and just decided to throw the Pact out there for some reason. Not sure. Either way, game over. I win. I resolve the first Titan with haste. And what I was going to do is I was going to attack into them for 8, 10, and then I was going to grab my own secondary, probably a Titan, because this Cavernous Souls, I might have gotten a Ghost Quarter to blow up like the Castle Garenbrig, just to try to clear the way through. So that was game 1. Let's go to game 2. This hand was terrible, so I mulligan, and this hand was a lot better. So it's not the most powerful hand here, but I have a turn 1 Scout, which is very good, and I have a Reclamation Sage, which can deal with my opponent's Amulet if they end up having one. They do not. So I just drop the Scout and pass. I draw my own Amulet, which makes me very happy. I historically have not done well in the mirror, so it makes me pretty content to be able to draw Amulets here. So I have a ton of mana, but nothing really to do with it. Unfortunately, I just don't have... I started doing the math by playing the Sanctuary, then I was like, actually, I just don't have... I don't have it, so I just passed here, holding up this Ghost Quarter. So I thought about Ghost Quartering my opponent's Simic Growth Chamber, but I decided to just hold off. They end up discarding a Pact of Negation, and that play pattern where I decided not to blow up my opponent's Simic Growth Chamber right there, I think was a mistake. We knew that I was able to Titan this turn because I can play the Bounce Land, pick up the Tularia West, cast a Pact, play a Titan, and go from there and be very far ahead. The only thing that could stop me, because my opponent discarded a Pact negation, would be a Disdainful Stroke, or a Negate, I guess, on my Pact. But I don't think people play Negate in the mirror. So what I should have done is I should have Ghost Quartered that Simic Growth Chamber, left my opponent with a basic forest, and then I would have had enough mana to go off and cast Titan. Instead, I don't Ghost Quarter. I go off, make a ton of mana. Play Titan, or get Titan. Play Titan. And see that Disdainful Stroke that I could have played around if I had just Ghost Quartered my opponent's Simic Growth Chamber. Now, in most cases, the Simic Growth Chamber wasn't doing anything to me. My opponent was still pretty far off at that point, so getting rid of it seemed like it wasn't optimal at the moment, but it didn't seem optimal at the moment, but it definitely was correct to blow that up, as we saw here. So I draw another Primetime, which is a really good draw, but now my opponent, unfortunately, gets the Titan first. Their Titan cannot be countered. The only advantage I have right here is that I have this Amulet in play, which means that my Titan gets to be a little bit ahead of their Titan. They have their own Ghost Quarter, and they decide to Ghost Quarter my Field the Dead, which... Sorry, let me back up for a second. They had a Ghost Quarter, but I wanted to attack with my Titan. So I Ghost Quartered their Ghost Quarter to get rid of it, making them get rid of my Field the Dead, which I don't care about. And now I can do my turns safely and in peace and still Titan. Whatever my opponent got rid of at that moment, it didn't matter. Field was probably the right choice, but I am running 2. So here at this moment, I grab extra things so I can attack with Titan. Want to protect the Slayer's Stronghold from being Ramanop Ghost Quartered. And a cute little play I've actually set up here. The reason, I'll go back for another second. The reason I didn't grab Sunhome here was because my opponent didn't block. Or I didn't expect my opponent to block. And if they did block, I had this Teleria West, so I was kind of okay with it. I feel like I'm pretty far ahead here. Now, if my opponent attacks with their Primetime, I can actually just flash in the Slayer Stronghold, pump up a zombie, and just get extra little, like make a zombie and get a little bit extra damage to block here if I need to. So my opponent plays their own Trinket Mage, gets an Amulet, plays the Amulet. So now I'm like, in a little bit worse spot than I was, but I was still able to attack first. My opponent isn't able to give their Titan Vigilance, which is really huge here, because Titan can soak up a ton of damage. They immediately grab Sunhome here, which I think is a mistake, because this signals to me that they're trying to kill me, and I don't think they really can't, so I just don't have to block. I go down to 6 life, and my opponent plays Ramanop here. I thought I was on my opponent's end step here, so I flashed in the Slayers, but unfortunately they were able to still do the Ghost Quarter. It was a tiny little mistake that didn't really cost me because I needed the zombie to win anyway. In response to them blowing up my Boros Garrison, I just give my Titan haste and vigilance and +2 attack, and swing with a huge team. I do not swing with Scout because Scout can flash in and make extra zombies. Scout can do a lot of work here. Even without Boros Garrison, I can still make red and white mana, either with a Gemstone Mine, or I end up grabbing the Gruul Turf because I need lands in my hand. And the video stops here, but if you can see what ends up happening is I have lethal, and there's nothing really my opponent can do about it. I have 5 zombies. They have, let's say, 5 blockers here. let's say they block that, and then they have 4 toughness here, and I'm going to have a double striking Titan by itself. So if they put everything on blocking the Titan, a little bit of damage will still trample through, and there's still exactly 11 damage swinging in between the zombies and the Azusa here. So any way you shake it, I put my opponent in a situation where they just could not win. And I can't stress enough the importance of actually having that amulet in the mirror. It is the ultimate mirror breaker, and I think that's why Trinket Mage is well positioned at the moment. So that was the video. Hope you like it. See you in the next one.